to flip the lead around. What were the things you were seeing on both ends of the court?
Well, we're getting stops and we're taking care of the ball. I think those are the two biggest things. Their pressure disrupted us some a little bit in the first half. We talked about it the last 2 days. We talked about how in previous games like this, sometimes it's a little disruptive in the first quarter, but we figure it out and we settle into getting used to their pressure. And I thought we did that as the game went along, and that was indicative of that stretch right there. I think in the fourth, Kuz was huge for us, 15 points. Made some defensive plays. Trez made some plays. And Talent, DS, Braun, everybody contributed in that fourth quarter. But we held them to 21 points, and we took care of the basketball in the fourth.
And Frank, that action that you were seeing with LeBron and Harrell's screen roll, and then it seemed like Kuz on the weak side. What was that something that was scripted, or just LeBron noticing something and kind of going back to the well as it was working?
Yeah, I mean, it's just pick and roll action. Braun and Trez are in that action often, and he's got targets spotted up on the weak side. The strong side corner, weak side if they overhelp. He reads the help, and obviously Trez is a dynamic finisher. Braun's a dynamic attacker and playmaker, and he made some great reads during that stretch.
Let's go to Kyle Goon.
Yeah, Frank, it looked like you were trying to maybe limit LeBron's minutes a little bit using the rotations, and then he kind of checks back in the fourth quarter, and you guys immediately go on that run. Does that feel, comforting, validating? Sort of, are you sort of expecting that LeBron to have that kind of pep just right after the All-Star break?
It's actually something we've done, coming into the break, the final few games. We wanted to use rotation where instead of him coming out at 6 and playing that normal rotation with Anthony out, with Mark out, maybe it makes sense to just look at extending his third quarter, playing him down toward the end of that, and then giving him the first couple minutes of the fourth off, and then bringing him in about the 9-minute mark to close the rest of the way. Something we looked at. We liked it going into the break. Decided we're going to stick with it and see how it looks tonight. And he was able to come back in fresh and help us close the game out.
David Miniman.
Right, two quick ones for you. First, Anthony, what's your reaction to the reevaluation news and where he stands now?
Yeah, we anticipated it's going to be a little bit of a build-up. Once we get back, so we'll be patient. We'll continue to compete and win games, and we'll all be very excited when we finally get it back.
And secondly, obviously it's been such a year for Kuzma in terms of showing other parts of his game. We've talked about the defense, the steals, deflections, the offensive rebounding. What can it take for him to be able to do both, like he did tonight, to score and do all those other things?
Yeah, I mean that's what we need from Kuz. We need that type of performance and proficiency on both ends. On a consistent basis. He's capable. He's shown that he can really help us. He helped us win a championship last year. So, he's one of our most important players, and it's my job to make sure we're putting him in the right position to succeed. His role doesn't change if he starts or if he comes off the bench, and he's going to impact both sides of the ball.
Allie Clifton. Hi, Allie.
Since you guys had a lot of fun talking about the fun part of the game to start the show, the offensive side, I'll talk about the necessary end, the defensive side of the ball.
Thank you.
42%, 22% from deep. You guys talked about the individual adjustments made on guys like Malcolm Brogdon. You look at score by quarters. It got better for the Lake Show. I think it's worth noting, without a guy like Anthony Davis, LeBron James spent time with reporters yesterday saying, not sugarcoating anything. We've talked about the struggles on the offensive side of the ball, but what has saved this team this season is that they're the #1 defensive rated team. And you continue to see that. I think tonight, especially without Alex Caruso, you're already without Anthony Davis, a little bit nonchalant, as you talked about to start the game. They found a way to get it done, and they did it on the defensive end of the floor. No matter how it needed to be done, whether it was a steal right there, whether it was going through stretches where Miles Turner was on the bench attacking on the offensive end but continuing to defend. It's where this team hangs their hat, and they stay true to it. through and through.
Allie, I think it's interesting because we hear a lot about last year's team and they had length. It's a different defensive team than this year. I asked the guys in the pregame show when we first came on the air, how do you defend without AD and Marc Gasol? And they said you can't make up for what AD does on the floor, but you have to have active hands. You got to help each other, play team defense. You look at the stats every single night. Here they are again, 10 steals, 5 blocks. So they're finding a way to get it done.
And you know, I liked looking at guys like Trez, who are undersized, but you can't help but go back to that quote he had a couple of weeks ago about, you know, if the strongest or biggest animal in the jungle was to be the elephant, or however that quote went. I don't even know what it was, but it was so great. It would be the elephant.
Yeah.
You know, and you just
King of the jungle.
The king of the jungle. You just look at him out there flying around, sacrificing his body at times. You think of guys like Alex Caruso who are falling on the ground. I mean, now he's out with a head contusion. To your point, you know, just different ways of finding that rhythm and that side of the ball to coexist with one another, and they're getting it done.
Yeah, and Fish, at halftime, I wanted to talk about offense, but you still kind of turned it to defense. It said, to win, though, you're going to have to get stops. And that still held true. I mean, they held the Pacers to 21 points in that fourth quarter. And it allowed their offense to get going. Because as you said, when your offense is kind of stuck in the mud, get easy baskets. And that means defending, getting out, and running.
Yeah, when you take Anthony Davis off the court, you get less efficient offensively.
He's pretty good.
he's pretty good. And so you need more possessions. You have to give yourself more chances to score because you're not going to score as often in the same amount of possessions. So defensively is where the Lakers really have to continue to, as Ali said, hang their hat. That's where they create higher efficiency offensively by continuing to rely on that #1 defensive rating in the league.
Yeah, the defense comes down to the will and the want. You know, you got to will it to yourself, you got to will it to your teammates, and you got to want to do it. If you watch a lot of teams around the league, they just want to get to that other end. The Lakers aren't like that. They want to play a little defense, lock down, and they take pride in it. And if you sit down and you watch, especially in that last possession right there you saw with the steal, there was a lot of communication going on. LeBron was telling KCP what was going to happen. I was going to switch. And they have a really good communication on the defensive end because a lot of times guys they expect something to happen, but you know what's going to happen if I'm telling you by letting it come out of my mouth. So their way to talk and communicate on the defensive end makes them a good team.
Chemistry.
A lot of
Kind of like in here, Rob.
Yeah, a lot of chemistry. Ain't that right, Allie?
Yeah, I actually have the quote.
Go ahead, Al.
I don't actually know. I do have more love to give, though. I'm not done yet. We have more love to give because you guys had all the love for Kyle Kuzma. And you look on Twitter, you look on social media right now, and people were buzzing. Draymond Green, go off. Kyle Kuzma.
He loves tweeting about the Lakers.
He does.
Makes Warrior fans real mad, too. It's awesome.
That is interesting. But here's a follow-up, too, from Kendrick Perkins. Anthony Davis getting hurt was a blessing in disguise for Kyle Kuzma. The young man has elevated his game both ends of the floor, playing some of his best basketball of his career this season. Just saying, though, he forgot the carry on. That's what I should have said about the jungle, the comment, the elephant, all that. Carry on. Yeah.
Carry on.